what happens with the love language is the main point about that, and Dr. Sean, you know this, of course, that it's when you don't understand that love language, or the person who you're expressing it to doesn't understand what it is. But I've come up, since you brought it up, with a couple of different love languages since COVID-19.
Oh yes, let me get my pen. Hold on.
All right.
Let's go. Go.
So I came up with three more. Instead of quality of time, now we're talking about quantity of time. If you could spend 24 hours a day with that same person and not have, and I'm not talking about domestic violence here or anything like that. That's something that's very serious. But if you're not irritated at one another and you could still smack the other person on the butt and you could still hug them after 24 hours a day of being together, that's quantity time. That's a love language. The second one, not so funny, but a real one that I found with working with some of my patients, people who've gotten COVID-19 and their partners saving them. Their partners telling them, I'm taking you to the hospital. I had a couple who were just about to break up, and I remember right before this COVID-19 really hit, I said to them, do you guys really want to break up at the beginning of a pandemic? Do you really want to do this? They stayed together. I heard from them just a couple of weeks ago. Turns out one of them actually got COVID-19. They were at the point of breaking up, but the boyfriend saved her life, told her, you are going to the hospital. She ended up on a respirator. She ended up coming out of it. She's okay now, thank goodness, still recovering. But guess what? They ain't breaking up. You know, he saved her life. And now it's like Sophocles and the thorn. And the last one is that physical touch, which is that love language that Chapman talks about. Now we have the electronic touch, because with social social isolation, social distancing, quarantining, people actually have to make love to one another, intimacy. And I'm not talking about sexting and sending pictures and all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, actually taking the time to get to know one another, and they may have to do it through a computer.
You know, Dr. Jeff, let me ask you a follow-up question. First of all of those are more than helpful, and I appreciate you giving that to my audience tonight, and to me, really. But I want to ask you a follow-up question, a bit more subtle. Here it is. What's the difference between a difficult relationship and a good relationship that has difficult moments?
Well, I'd rather be in a good relationship that has difficult moments, of course, because there is a good foundation to land on all the time. Whereas a difficult relationship, you can't seem to connect the dots. You can't seem to understand each other's love languages. It's just one conflict after another, versus what you're talking about, a good relationship that has difficulties, because all good relationships have difficulties, but the difficulties, every time you get through them, makes the relationship even better and stronger.
Oh, that's rich. That's good. That's good. So Tori and Terry, all right, give me some tips tonight, and give my audience some tips tonight for longevity. What are some things that you advise people to do if they want to have long-standing relationships and marriages?
You know, I kind of want to piggyback off of Dr. Jeff, because you know, when you're intimate with your partner all the time like that, especially in a situation, you know, when you're in a pandemic, the thing is that, you know, you tend to grow apart from each other. So you have to be able to connect, you know. And we always say that in a marriage, you know, it's not two perfect people that get together to have a marriage. It's two imperfect people, and they find ways to work through the difficult areas and the challenges of their lives, and still remain the same, come out, you know, together. So that's a big one. And when you were saying that, I was like, oh man, he's reading my mind over here, you know, because that's some of the things that we talk about a lot. But so that's my big one. Again, communications, man. It's nothing that tops every list, because you have to be able to talk to each other, you know.
But Troy, let me push you on that, because the term communication can almost mean anything, right? It really can. It encompasses so much. So be as specific as you can and help people understand what you mean when you say to someone, the first tip that I want to give you for longevity of relationship is communication. What do you mean by that?
Being able to not just hear what the other person is saying, but mirroring what the other person's saying, so you'll understand, giving validation to how they're feeling and showing empathy toward them as well, in the things that they say. So you just can't, I heard you, well, you can hear anything, but are you listening to what I'm actually saying? And again, that's the bone of contention with so many couples. They always, they say the same thing all the time. He doesn't listen, or she doesn't listen, or we can't talk to each other. We're always fussing, because they're not talking to each other. They're talking at each other, and they just don't understand that if two people are talking at the same time, nobody's listening.